UFC Fight Night Vegas 41, Costa versus Vettori, takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Laureano Staropoli versus Jamie Pickett. Starts off the card, not the best fight in the world, both guys coming off losses right now. Laureano Staropoli, of course, moving up now to the middleweight division. He last lost to Roman Dolidze, the GOAT himself. You can't really argue with a loss there, but other than that, he's actually lost to not too bad of competition. He lost to Tim Means, he lost to Muslim Salikov. Other than that, he's beat Thiago Alves, he beat a couple of other decent guys in his career, no one too special, but the same story can be said about Jamie Pickett. Hasn't really got a good win in his entire career. I guess his best win could be against Jonathan Patty, who was 6-3 at the time, and that's how he earned his way into the UFC. Of course, this is the middleweight division, which means everyone is absolutely terrible outside of maybe the number 1 guy in the world, and maybe the number 2 guy in the world as well, and Robert Whittaker. But other than that, though, he earned his way into the UFC by beating a guy who was 6-3. You can't make this stuff up. Other than that, he's lost to Tafon Chukwi, lost to Jordan Wright. He took a beating against Tafon Chukwi as well, took a beating against Punelli Soriano in their fight as well in the earlier rounds. He took a beating against Jordan Wright, got finished in the first round. I think coming off that first round finish, I don't think he's going to be too good here against Laureano Staropoli. He is the bigger man. He's going to have the reach advantage here, but Roman Dolidze was the bigger man. Roman Dolidze had the reach advantage, and he still had to settle on just holding Laureano Staropoli up against a cage, even though Staropoli took that fight on short notice. I think Laureano Staropoli is a welterweight. He is a welterweight, which means he's much better than middleweights. I think he's going to learn a lot more at welterweight than he would if he came up in the middleweight regional scene. And I think he's just a lot better than Jamie Pickett here. Maybe the size will give Jamie Pickett some advantages, but coming off a KO loss, I don't think he's going to be too aggressive in the first round, because that's what caused him to lose against a guy like Jordan Wright. I'm going to go with Laureano Staropoli here. I think it's a good pick. I think he's way more technically sound than Jamie Pickett, and I can see him actually out-grappling Jamie Pickett throughout this fight, holding him against a cage, working some takedowns, going for some sweeps, some trips, just using some technical advantages that he has from growing up as a welterweight rather than a shit middleweight. Laureano Staropoli gets this one done by unanimous decision, 29-28, 30-27, something along those lines. Moving on up the card, Khama Worthy versus Jai Herbert, or Jay Herbert, however you want to pronounce it, the Black Country banger, Jay Herbert. I'm going to go with Jay Herbert. Now, I do have my concerns here, I will be honest. Like, Khama Worthy is always a decently good underdog to pick, but I just don't think he's got it anymore, man. The chin seems to be a bit of a problem. He got starched out cold by Ottoman Azaitar. Really badly finished by him. Then got really badly finished by Jamie Mullarkey as well. That's 2 first-round KOs under a minute and a half, or under 2 minutes each. I mean, accumulatively, he didn't even make it 3 minutes with Mullarkey and Azaitar put together. Like, he got KO'd really badly in both of those fights. Beat Luis Pena, but of course, Luis Pena's specialty is women. So, of course, he's not going to do too good against men in the cage, like Khama Worthy. He also beat Devontae Smith, which is a very good win. It got him into the UFC. But other than that, man, he lost to anyone decent in his entire career. Lost to Billy Quarantillo, lost to Matt Bassett, lost to Anthony Rettick, who isn't even that good, 5-3 on his record. KO'd in the first round there. KO'd by Kyle Nelson in the first round. KO'd by Matt Bassett. KO'd by Billy Quarantillo in the second round. He's taken so many KO losses. KO'd by Paul Felder. There's so many now. I'm watching him take 2 shots on the chin in the first round and immediately go out to them like he did against Mullarkey and Azaitar. It's not a chin that I trust. Now, talking about chins to trust, Jai Herbert has an interesting chin himself, but I think he's just far better. Far, far better than Khama Worthy. I think he's going to be okay on the ground. Renato Moicano's a beast. You know what I mean? He's a beast in the lightweight division. He was a top 5 ranked featherweight at one point in time. He was fighting Jose Aldo. He was beating Brian Ortega until the 3rd round, where he dived into a guillotine for some bizarre reason. Don't know why people keep doing that against Ortega, but it seems to be a habit. He also lost to Francisco Trinaldo, but that's one I want to talk about here, because other than that loss to Francisco Trinaldo, he was doing okay. He had some moments in that 2nd and 3rd round where it looked like, hang on a second, Jai Herbert is actually going to start schooling Francisco Trinaldo here, and he was whooping him in the 2nd round on the feet. So I trust Jai Herbert's cardio. I think he's got good cardio. I don't think Khama Worthy's got the level of ground game or jiu-jitsu that Renato Moicano has, or the grappling that Renato Moicano has in general, just to get it to the ground. And I don't trust his chin as much as I trust Jai Herbert's chin, and I think Jai Herbert's fought better competition, and I reckon he gets this one done. He's hungry, he's younger. I believe, what advantages does he have in this fight just to solidify it even more? He's got a reach advantage of 3 inches to hide behind on the feet. I think that's going to be very effective. He's got first round KO power, multiple first round KOs in his career. One over Steve O'Keefe, who was 9-3. One over Joe McColgan, who was 4-1, who is now, by the way, the Cage Warriors lightweight champion, and a good lightweight champion. Just beat Aji Sardari and absolutely destroyed him. So a first round KO from Jai Herbert is actually a really good win. I'm going to trust Jai Herbert to get this one done by first round KO. Moving on up the card, Tabatha Ricci versus Maria Oliveira. I'm picking Maria Oliveira. I know she's a big underdog here. And I also know that no one on Tapology is really picking her. 16% of people are picking her. 84% in favour of Tabatha Ricci. I think it's just because of how hot Tabatha Ricci is. I don't think anyone's actually considering the matchup here. Maria Oliveira, she's actually pretty good. 12-4. She's a huge girl for the division. She's going to have a reach advantage over Tabatha Ricci here as well. She's 5'6" in the strawweight division, 69-inch reach. You've got Tabatha Ricci, 5'1", 62-inch reach. That's a big advantage for Maria Oliveira to have. If it does stay on the feet, that's an advantage there. Even if it does... If Tabatha Ricci wants to take her to the ground, she's going to have an advantage in the clinch. We just saw this with Luana Carolina and Lupita Godinez. Luana Carolina was just a little bit too tall against the cage. Godinez couldn't really get her body weight over her in all the certain moments that she needed to. I feel like Oliveira is going to get this one done. I'm going with Maria Oliveira. She's fought good competition. And who really is Tabatha Ricci beat to tell us that she's this massive favourite over Maria Oliveira and 84% of people are picking her? Tapology users. You're supposed to be the hardcore fans. You're supposed to be the experts. Tabatha Ricci's best win is against a 2-3 Shauna Ormsby by TKO in the second round. 2-3. That's her best win. Maria Oliveira doesn't have great wins either, but she fought a 2-0 Machado, 1-0, like a couple of decent girls with like some wins under their belt, even fighting some decent opponents like Kanaka Asakura, who was 9-2 at the time over at Rising. Marina Rodriguez KO'd her in the first round. Not too bad. It's Marina Rodriguez. She KO'd Amanda Ribas in the first round twice. I feel like Maria Oliveira has the experience advantage. I think she's just way better than Tabatha Ricci in general as well. She's younger than Tabatha Ricci. She's got a reach advantage. She's got a height advantage. And also, one thing to mention about Maria Oliveira, she's very young. Extremely young, but she trains at Parana Valetudo, which is a very good gym. And I'm just going to double check because I know Jessica Andrade trains there, but there's another female fighter that trains there as well in Carol Rosa. They're bringing up some really good female fighters out of Brazil. And I think that's two great training partners to have. Carol Rosa, ranked bantamweight. Jessica Andrade, the second best flyweight in the world in the women's division, and almost beat Rose Namajunas in the rematch that they had. Beat her the first time even still. I know it was a slam, but still. Jessica Andrade is still a very good fighter in that division. And you're talking about a girl who's training with Jessica Andrade and Carol Rosa on a daily basis. I'm picking her over Tabatha Ricci. I don't care how good looking Tabatha Ricci is. I'm going with I'm going to go with Oliveira. I'm going to go with Oliveira getting this one done as a big underdog over Tabatha Ricci. She isn't even that much of an underdog, to be fair, but she is. Almost 2-1. I'm going with Maria Oliveira here, getting this one done. Moving on up the card. Jun-Yong Park versus Gregory Rodriguez. I'm going to trust the Iron Turtle Jun-Yong Park to get this one done. Very tough fight for him, though, because Gregory Rodriguez has shown very much a high level of capability so far in his career. He's got KO power. He's a physical specimen. He's still 29 years of age as well. This is the middleweight division, of course, so 29 is like 25 at bantamweight. Like, he's actually pretty good. He beat Dusko Todorovic. He beat Josh Fremd, who was 7-1 at the time. He's beat some decent opponents over at LFA. I just reckon the Iron Turtle is so consistently good. You know, and Gregory Rodriguez, he beat Dusko Todorovic, but how good really was Dusko Todorovic? He beat Mikel Pereira. You're a middleweight. Mikel Pereira is now a welterweight. I get it that maybe Mikel Pereira was fighting up at middleweight at the time, but still. How good, really, is Dusko Todorovic? His best win is arguably against Daquan Townsend in the UFC career that he had. Other than that, he fought a couple of cans in his career. Punelli Soriano lights him out in the first round, and he turned around immediately afterwards, and then Gregory Rodriguez steps up on short notice and just beats him all 3 rounds. It was a competitive fight, but how really good was Dusko Todorovic? He made a lot of fundamental mistakes throughout his career. I remember there was a guy in my chat who was telling me that this guy leaves his chin open. I think it was, I don't even know who it was, but someone was telling me Dusko Todorovic makes a lot of mistakes, and he's going to get caught up for it as well, and it ended up happening. He lost to Laureano, he lost to Gregory Rodriguez. Jun-Yong Park is very consistently good. He's lost to good opponents. Anthony Hernandez is a UFC middleweight. Shavkat Rakhmonov down at welterweight as well. Seung, not a great loss to have, but even still, not too bad, I guess, because I don't even know who that is. I don't know why I'm trying to justify that loss. It was a split decision. It was early in his career. But other than that, Shavkat Rakhmonov and also Anthony Hernandez. He beat Marc-Andre Barriault. Great win. Marc-Andre Barriault just beat Dalchalungi and Bula. Abu Azaitar as well. He beat John Phillips. Nothing to see there. John Phillips is a disgrace to Wales. Tafon Chukwi. Great win there as well. Tafon Chukwi just beat the shit out of his last opponent. Beat the shit out of Jamie Pickett as well. I'm going to go with Jun-Yong Park, the Iron Turtle. He's tough. He's got a great chin. He can take damage. He can push. He's got good cardio. He's got good grappling. I reckon he'll overwhelm in a high-paced fight Gregory Rodriguez here. I think he'll lose the first round, but start to win himself the second round, and then win the third round quite convincingly. I'll go over 29-27 decision for Jun-Yong Park over Gregory Rodriguez. I just think he pushes a consistent pace on him and breaks him down, and then Gregory starts to slow down in a higher paced fight than he's used to. Jun-Yong Park gets this one done. Moving on up the card, Jeff Molina versus Daniel Lacerda. I'm going to be going with Jeff Molina here. I trust Jeff Molina to get this one done. He's a very good prospect in the flyweight division. And I'm actually kind of glad that he's got a lot of opportunities against up-and-comers, because Daniel Lacerda, I mean, arguably shouldn't be in the UFC. Like, I don't know why Jake Hadley, the best flyweight in Europe and Africa, has to go through the Contender Series on short notice. But guys like this just get snatched up. He beat a 20-11 fighter. And usually flyweights on the regional scene have good records. It's not tough to find good flyweights with good records. You look through some of these flyweights' resumes, they've all got pretty good records. You know what I mean? Like 17-3, Howley Pava, or 20-something and 3, I believe his record is. I'm going to be going with Jeff Molina here. It's just hard to argue that Daniel Lacerda's in any way that good. He beat a couple of decent opponents early on, 4-1, 5-0. But recently, 4-2, 13-12, 20-11. That tells me, like, you're not confident in yourself whatsoever, and you're just sort of hurrying together a couple of can-crushing victories to try and, like, inorganically get your way into the UFC. He lost to Ediliciu Alves, had a shoulder injury in that bout, so he full well could be undefeated. But Jeff Molina has been taking on some decent opponents. Jacob Silva. He fought Aori Quileng. I thought Aori Quileng was going to beat him. Aori Quileng has fought a lot of great opponents in his career and is a very good flyweight himself. I think Jeff Molina's got this one in the bag. He pushes a good pace. He's got good stand-up. He's got a good chin. He's got good grappling and good grappling defense as well. And he trains at a good gym, Glory MMA, with James Krause with him. I think I trust him to get this one done over Daniel Lacerda. And I think Jeff Molina wins this one by unanimous decision, 30-27. It's going to be competitive, but I believe Jeff Molina's cardio and his volume and his accuracy and just his general better stand-up than Lacerda is going to carry him through all of those rounds, and I think he'll slightly win every round for a clear-cut 30-27 decision, unless Danny Roberts somehow gets given the fucking decision by the judges. Who fucking knows? But I'm going with Jeff Molina getting this one. Moving on up the card, Livia Renata Souza versus Randa Markos. Get your money on this right now. Livia Renata Souza is a slight favourite. A slight favourite over Randa Markos. I get it. Randa Markos had some decent wins early on in her career. She even beat Angela Hill, who, of course, Livia Renata Souza lost to in her career as well by split decision, I believe. Get your money on Livia Renata Souza. She's actually kind of good. She lost to Amanda Lemos, who's got great power, amazing power. You haven't seen power like it in the UFC for a while in the women's divisions. Oh well, she got finished there quite badly. Lost to Brianna Van Buren, who, in hindsight, had a fairly decent scrap with Tisha Torres compared to other Tisha Torres opponents, including Angela Hill herself. And she beat Ashley Oda, which isn't a great win, but she won it. She beat Sarah Frotter, who was 9-0 at the time. She beat Mirandin, who was 9-0 at the time as well. She beat Hamasaki, who was 14-1 at the time. She's fought great opponents in her career, and she's constantly had to test herself. And I'm just going to say it, yeah. It's because she's not that good looking. Whenever you have these female fighters that aren't the best looking, they've got to go through the fucking mud to get themselves to the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Paige Van Zandt can beat a bunch of cans. You're in. But Livia Renata Souza, in female MMA, the only selling point is attractiveness. Nunes can be as dominant as she wants. She's still going to have the 3 lowest pay-per-view selling pay-per-view cards of all time in the ESPN era. So, I'm going to go with Livia Souza. She had a tougher upbringing in the women's MMA world. And also, Randa Markos just keeps fucking losing. So, and she doesn't look like she even cares anymore, let's be real. I don't know how she's still in the UFC. She's literally 10 and fucking 11. But let's get rid of Tyron fucking Woodley and Yoel Romero. Don't understand it whatsoever. Randa Markos is going to lose. I just don't even understand how... I don't even understand how this is, like, close in odds. It's confusing to me. What does Tapology have this fight picked at? 84% for Livia Souza, and she's barely a favourite. Get your money on it. I think she wins this one by decision, unanimous. 30-27 over Randa Markos. And finally, can we fucking get rid of this 10 and 11 bitch? Moving on up the card, Davy Grant. It's not Davy Grant. It's Dwight Grant. I just saw D. Grant. Dwight Grant versus Francisco Trinaldo. I'm going to trust Francisco Trinaldo to get this one done. Great matchup, though. Dwight Grant, of course, very, very dangerous. He has knockout power. Almost finished Daniel Rodriguez in the first round. He actually did arguably better against Daniel Rodriguez than various other opponents, including Kevin Lee and other top competition fighters. But it's just his other performances against Stefan Sekulic. He's so unwilling to be a fighter. And I think this is what it comes down to. It's the Uriah Hall effect. All of the physical attributes, crazy long reach, great power, great speed, great athleticism, pussy coward out there. Can we be real? Against Alan Jouban, he moved backwards the whole fucking time. He beat Alan Jouban. I don't know why Alan Jouban thinks that was a robbery. You don't just win fights by moving forward. Jouban didn't do fuck all either. But I believe Francisco Trinaldo, as I smack my glass with my knuckle, I believe Francisco Trinaldo is going to be able to put this on him. Zach Otto was able to put it on him and get a split decision win. I think that Francisco Trinaldo, the one thing I can trust on him out of his entire game of MMA is his chin. He's always had a great chin. I'm going to take a shot in the dark as I rapidly scroll through his record and say he's never lost by KO in his entire career. No. Please be right. Yes, never lost by KO in his entire career. I'm going to trust him to get this one done. I think the chin is going to be the main problem. And if Francisco Trinaldo had history of being KO'd by some lightweights who don't hit quite as hard as Dwight Grant, maybe I'd edge an underdog prediction of Dwight Grant here, but the chin of Trinaldo has always stayed true. He's very, very tough. He had a decent scrap with Muslim Salikov in his last bout, who's now a ranked welterweight. I'm going to pick him to beat Dwight Grant, but if you want to make some money, maybe there's some odds on Dwight Grant in the first round by KO. But recently, I just don't see that from Dwight Grant. He seems so gun-shy. He's basically the Uriah Hall of the welterweight division, as I said. A little bit of a coward. And I think Trinaldo at this point is all about business. Doesn't really care. He's going to cruise in, try and get the fight done, put pressure on him, and then get the job done by, I'll say, 29-28 unanimous decision. Maybe he gets dropped at one moment, but recovers and wins the other rounds. Francisco Trinaldo gets this one done. I just need to trust his chin, and I do trust his chin. And Dwight Grant's a pussy, and he's quite old as well, 37. So I'm going to go with Trinaldo here. Moving on up the card, Alex Caceres versus Seung Woo-Choi. I thought this was the co-main event, but apparently not. I'm going to go with Seung Woo-Choi here. I think it's a logical prediction to make. I mean, Alex Caceres is good, but when you look at the level of competition that he's taken on, you can see why he's been winning recently. Chase Hooper, Steven Peterson, Kevin Kroom, Austin Springer. Now, I know Austin Springer choked out Giga Chikadze in the first round because MMA is that way, I guess. Same way Brandon Davis went to a split decision with Giga Chikadze. But Dana Batgirl starches him in the first round. It's just MMA. That's how it works sometimes. But when you look at this level of competition that he's taken on, Austin Springer was on very short notice. I don't think Caceres has got it in him to beat a guy like Seung Woo-Choi. I bet against Seung Woo-Choi against Julian Erosa. I bet for him in the Mokhtarian fight. I bet for him in the Yusuf Salal fight as an underdog as well. And he's got great stand-up. He's a Muay Thai world champion as well. That's like a good title to have. You're a world champion in Muay Thai. And I think he's going to get this one done. He's got good reach for the division, and he's got longer reach than Alex Caceres, and he's taller than Alex Caceres as well. I know Caceres is going to look a bit taller because of the afro, but Seung Woo-Choi is a 6-foot-tall featherweight. 74.5-inch reach. He's a problem for everyone. He's a physical specimen. He's got a good chin. He lost to great opponents in his career as well. Nothing to really scoff at too badly. He lost to Jae Woon Kim early in his career, before in the regional scene. But since being in the UFC, his only two losses are to Gavin Tucker and Movsar Evloev. Those aren't bad fucking wins, in all honesty. So I'm going to trust Seung Woo-Choi to win this one, and I think he'll get it done by decision, chopping up the legs of Alex Caceres, slowing down the movement, and just starting to rip and slip and land big shots as the fight goes on, winning every round by outstriking Alex Caceres. And if he wins this one, he needs to move up into the rankings and take on a ranked opponent because he's 28 years of age. He's in his prime. Let's get him going. He's going to be 29 next month. Let's get him into the rankings and get him towards that belt if he wins this one. It'll be a good win streak. He's on 4 in a row against good competition opponents. I'm going to go with Seung Woo-Choi outstriking Caceres here on the feet and mainly down to chewing up his legs because Seung Woo-Choi is a Muay Thai phenom. He's a great fighter. He's a great striker as well. And Alex Caceres just is vegan. He's too weak, pathetic. I'm going to go with Seung Woo-Choi. Moving on up the card. Nikolai, cancelable surname for a white man. Nikolai Negumereanu versus EK Villanueva. I'm going to go with Nikolai. We'll leave it there. Nikolai is his name. Nick. We'll call him Nick. I reckon he gets this one done. I bet against him in the Alexa Khama fight. And honestly, I think he lost the Alexa Khama fight. He got given the win. No one really said it was a robbery. So, I feel like I'm kind of on my own here. But I thought that Alexa Khama did beat Nikolai. But EK Villanueva, he's just a fat old man. He's got KO power, but against who? Vinicius Mejia? Vinicius Mejia is appallingly bad. And fair play, I picked him. But that's how little I thought of EK Villanueva anyway. Lost to Chase Sherman at heavyweight. Not bad. Now you're down here in this division in light heavyweight. I understand. But Nikolai, he's big, 6 feet tall. He's got a crazy reach for his size as well. 6 foot tall, 78-inch reach. I'm 6'2", and he's got a longer reach than me. I've got a 77, 78-inch reach. And he's 6 foot. He's got very long arms for his size. I think he's going to stick behind that. Outstrike EK Villanueva for 3 rounds, winning unanimous decision 30-27. Alexa Khama's very good, and I know he lost to Saparbek Safarov, but after that loss, he took 2.25 years off, worked on his game, did not come back to the UFC, and just waited and worked on his game because he knew he wasn't ready, and I saw him crushing cans on his way to the UFC. But now we've got him really taken some time to himself, took 2 and a bit years off, developed his game, came back and made it a close fight with Alexa Khama, who I believe would beat EK Villanueva as well. I'm going to trust Nick Alai to get this one done over EK Villanueva. Younger guy as well, 37 years of age, and EK's just 37. 27 for Nikolai, 37 for EK Villanueva. Reach advantage goes to Nikolai by far. 5 inches of reach in a stand-up bout. EK doesn't have any option to get this to the ground. I'm going to trust Nikolai to win this one on the feet. He's a great striker. He's got a good chin. He'll get this one done. Moving on up the card. Jessica Rose Clark versus Joselyne Edwards. I'm going to go with Joselyne Edwards here over Jessica Rose Clark. Trust her to get this one done. Jessica Rose Clark, again, are these fucking Tapology accounts a bunch of simps? What are these skewered prediction rates here? I get it. She's good. She beat Sarah Alpar, and Joselyne Edwards lost to Sarah Alpar earlier in her career by split decision. But that was a different Sarah Alpar. It was a different Joselyne Edwards. That was 2018. We're in a very different time right now. Okay? Jessica Rose Clark is good. Hasn't fought in a very long time. Hasn't fought in a year. Last loss for Joselyne Edwards was against Carol Rosa, who's a very good fighter in the bantamweight division. And the main thing, and the main reason I'm picking Joselyne Edwards here, is that she's so much bigger. She's just so much bigger than Jessica Rose Clark. I don't see Jessica Rose Clark getting this one to the ground the way that Carol Rosa actually had to in their fight. By the way, Carol Rosa, very good fighter, very good striker in the women's bantamweight division. She had to get this one to the ground. She had to work to get it to the ground, try her best to get it there, and she got it to the ground. I don't see Jessica Rose Clark out-grappling Joselyne Edwards, so I just see Joselyne Edwards getting this one done by outstriking Jessica Rose Clark on the feet. She's got a massive reach advantage. 70 inches of Joselyne Edwards compared to the 67 inches of Jessica Rose Clark. Nothing too major, but the height advantage as well, the size advantage. I think she could go for the grappling if she wants to. 26 years of age. She's way younger than Jessica Rose Clark. And if you get fake tits, you don't want to be a world champion. Just what I'm going to say. Everyone knows you care more about your looks than being a world champ. You're going to get paid, but Joselyne Edwards, I believe, is too big, too rangy, good on the feet, got some good body kicks. I think she'll keep it at range here and win in a stand-up bout. Moving on up the card, Grant Dawson versus Ricky Glenn. I'm going to go with Grant Dawson, obviously, but Rick Glenn's tough, and he's got KO power, and Grant Dawson, if anything, is a tiny bit chinny, so I do worry about this a bit, but I'm going to go with Grant Dawson getting this one done. I think he'll out-grapple Rick Glenn. Rick Glenn's good. He's got good wrestling himself, by the way, but I think that Grant Dawson has another level of grappling. Ricky Glenn got that KO over Joaquim Silva. I predicted him to get a first-round KO there as well, because Joaquim Silva is the chinniest of the chinny, in any way that you can say it. Like, he's got a real bad chin in his career, and it's been proven multiple times, over and over and over again. I'm going to go with Grant Dawson here, just out-grappling him. His win over Leonardo Santos is very good. And in all honesty, I know that James Krause and the whole story of that fight was James Krause saying to him, you got to get this finish. You're behind. I don't like the scorecards. You got to get this one done. And he finished him in the final seconds. I thought Grant Dawson was winning the whole fight. I thought he won the first round. I thought he won the second round. And I thought he won the third round as well before the very end. So I don't even think he needed a finish, but he made sure there was no robbery. But I'm going to trust Grant Dawson to get this one done. Grappling with Leonardo Santos is no joke, and he got him down and had 8 minutes of control time on him. I trust Grant Dawson to win this one. If you can beat Leonardo Santos, you can beat the Ricky Glenns of this world. Yeah, Ricky Glenn just lost to a couple of guys in his career that I don't like the look of him losing to be honest with you, and it's not a great thing. So I'm going to trust Grant Dawson here over Ricky Glenn. Ricky Glenn got beat by Kevin Aguilar. Where's he at now? He got beat by Miles Jury, got out-grappled there. Got out-grappled by Dennis Bermudez, but somehow won that fight. Who the fuck knows what they were doing in that fight, but even still. He beat Gavin Tucker, which is a great win to have, but he's been out-grappled so many times. Evan Dunham out-grappled him in their fight dominantly as well. I'm going to trust Grant Dawson to get his takedowns and get his control time and win this one on top over the 3 rounds. Moving on up the card, Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori. I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori here. He started as an underdog, I believe, so he's now become a favourite, and I think that just tells the tale. People saw him as an underdog and thought, you know what, we've got to go with him here. I trust, let's just say this, they're both very good, and they can both beat each other. In a 3-rounder, I reckon I'd go with Paulo Costa here. I think he could pressure Marvin Vettori in those first 2 rounds, outstrike him in those first 2 rounds, and eventually maybe survive the 3rd round, but win the fight 29-28. In a 5-rounder, that Paulo Costa knows is a 5-rounder. Okay? That's a very different thing. It's not only a 5-round fight where Paulo Costa might empty out the gas tank early and gas out later on. And if it is a 5-round fight, which it is, I don't know why I'm focusing on the 5 rounds this much, but either way, in a 5-rounder, Marvin Vettori wins this fight. I think he wins the last 3 rounds. I think he survives the fight early. But even still, I say survives the fight early. We saw in his last 5-round fight, Paulo Costa said his game plan was to ride out the early rounds and put on a storm on Israel Adesanya later on. I don't like that mindset for Paulo Costa. It shows me that he's terrified of gassing out in a 5-round fight. He can't go 5 rounds. I don't think his mindset's going to be good after his first KO loss of his career against Israel Adesanya, and he got humiliated and he's been made a joke out of, and he's pulled out of 2 fights since then. Had some real rough time. He got a hair transplant. That was literally the reason he pulled out against Jared Cannonier. I don't like his mindset. I don't like his mindset in a 5-rounder. I feel like he's going to go out there and be more patient than usual. I don't think he's going to put the pressure on Vettori because I don't think he trusts himself to finish Vettori in the first 2 rounds. And I think Vettori's just going to jab and move and just stick and move the entire fight long. Get past the 2nd round, maybe even win the 2nd round, but win the 3rd, win the 4th. And I think he's actually going to get a TKO maybe in the 5th round here or the 4th round. Maybe a rear naked choke even. I'll go with that. I'll go with Marvin Vettori. Rear naked choke at the end of the 4th round, landing good shots on Paulo Costa, lands a good kick to the body or a couple of shots to the body against the cage, maybe a couple of knees in the clinch as Costa's kind of covering up, really badly gassed out. Costa goes down, Vettori starts unloading with punches, Costa gives up his back, Vettori sinks in the rear naked choke. I'll go with Marvin Vettori, rear naked choke round 4 on a gassed out Paulo Costa. I bring your attention to the Omari Akhmedov fight of Marvin Vettori's career. A guy who put the pressure on early on Marvin Vettori, went after him, really went heavy with the kicks, with inside leg kicks, with outside leg kicks, with body kicks. Something that Paulo Costa is going to use a lot of in this fight, inside leg kicks. You've got different stances here between the pair of them. Inside leg kicks are going to be good. The body kick's going to be open for Paulo Costa as well. But Omari Akhmedov is equally a good striker. And I think he tried that on Marvin Vettori, and in the 3rd round, after Vettori's been sort of tagged up in the first 2, he's unloading 20 punch combinations against Omari Akhmedov and pushing for the finish in the 3rd, and ended up getting himself a 10-8 round, which made that fight a draw. If there's rounds 4 and 5, Vettori's finishing Omari Akhmedov. He can take punishment. He can take pressure. He's got a great chin. Unless Paulo Costa finishes him with a body shot in the first 2 rounds, don't see him winning, and that's a very small chance for me to put money on. So I'm going with Marvin Vettori here as a slight favourite in the main event, and I reckon he gets this one done over Paulo Costa as the rounds go on. I just don't know where Paulo Costa's mind's going to be at. He hasn't been in the cage for a while. Marvin Vettori stays active. He's still, by the way, and you look at the ages of the 2 of them, Paulo Costa is 30. Okay? He's not a young guy anymore. Marvin Vettori just turned 28. Just turned 28. So while he was 27, he went 5 rounds with Israel Adesanya. And Adesanya can say what he wants about that fight. Listen, the winner tells the story. I'm English. We understand this, okay? The winner tells the story. But Izzy says, like, he schooled Marvin Vettori. And he absolutely embarrassed him. But Marvin Vettori gets completely embarrassed by Israel Adesanya. Not really, though. In a way, Vettori got Israel Adesanya down. He had a rear naked choke attempt. He got a couple of other takedowns in that fight as well. And realistically, Adesanya just landed a couple more strikes per round than Marvin Vettori every single round. Like, he minorly outstruck Vettori, and you can say that, Vettori didn't even try to win. But he did. He was throwing multiple punches against Adesanya. He was missing a lot of them, don't get me wrong, but Vettori was in there. He was composed. He never left himself open. And compared to Paulo Costa's, like, mindset and focus and, like, composure in those big events, Vettori handled himself very well whilst being younger. And he trains at a good gym at King's MMA. And he's going to get even better. And he's got a reach advantage. I'm going with Marvin Vettori. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.